So let us start this particular session on commitment. Rather, we should talk about the commitment, organizational commitment, which is a two-way system where we talk about whether employee commitment or organizational commitment. But we will take this particular concept in both the phrases, both the way. So when we talk about that commitment, you have many words which are very common: dedication or loyalty, or sometimes it is. You can also understand that devoted, something like that. But when we talk about the commitment, so you have some commitment. Commit means you commit something. So that may be in form of written, that may be in form of understanding, that may be in form of visual effects. That means that may be reflecting through your behavior. So when we talk about the commitment, so look at the different aspects of commitment we talk about. It is nothing but simply a willingness to give your time and energy to a job, activity, or something you believe in. So maybe that this concept, this particular line explains it in a very wide manner, which talks about not only jobs but activity also, and sometimes if you talk about personal things also. So you may have some commitment towards some person. So you may have some commitment towards some activity, towards some job. So when you have some commitment, or if you are willing to give your time and energy to some job, that simply means you have already given your commitment. You are ready to do that particular activity, and you will do it. It is almost 100% sure. Another understanding comes that an engagement or obligation that restricts freedom of action. This is something which goes beyond your boundaries, which talks about otherwise, if you are not committed to some activity, some job, someone, or something, then you may be free to do anything. So, on other hand, it talks about that this engagement or obligation restrict your freedom. That means, say for example, you sometimes say that you have already committed to do that particular activity, so you cannot do this. Or you talk about that since I have already given my commitment, so I cannot do this thing. So this restriction of your freedom, wherever you feel that you are having some limitations, some restrictions, it means there is some commitment. So whenever limitation comes, whenever your freedom comes into your picture, if you are free to do anything, that means you do not have any pre-concerned statements which you have already given for any engagement. Whereas it is basically a state and quality of being dedicated to a cause, activity. It is this way or that way, same thing which it talks about, that it is basically a dedication towards cause or activity. So when we talk about commitment, you can have a commitment for a cause, commitment for a challenge, and commitment for people, if you talk about. So cause commitment is basically when you are affiliated or associated with someone because of some objective, because of some reason. Say for example, nowadays political changeover is very much into our environment right now because of this forthcoming election. this leader of one party goes to another party, and Y party leader comes to X party or Z party, something like that is going on. Now you can understand there are people who are not changing, even their ticket is rejected, even they are not given weightage, even they are not talked about. Say for example, many times you can understand that people are moving for a cause. Someone who comes from X party to Y party says that we are doing for some development cause, for social cause, for people cause. So they are mentioning some cause, and they say that we are committed to the particular cause. In an explicit manner, if you say in UP, you talk about one party says that we are working for a cause of development. So their commitment, as per their mentioning, is the cause of commitment is development. When some other party talks about the social justice or social cause, some party talks about justice. So they are mentioning that they are committed towards a cause, not towards party. Similarly, if you are working in a TCS or you are working in a Maruti Suzuki, and say for example you are not leaving the job even if you are offered higher job, higher pay scale, or some increments or something, you are committed to the company. So there may be some cause, there may be some reason. Sometimes you may think that since this company has given me the break in my career, so I will not leave this company till the company is not retrenching me or terminating me. Maybe that this kind of commitment you might have with the, and cause maybe that since it is first job, so you are not leaving it. Sometimes your commitment is not because of any reason or cause. Sometimes you are committed to a challenge. Someone gives a challenge to you that if you do this thing, or can you do this thing. So because of that challenge, you are committed to the particular activity. Say for example, if your parents gives you a challenge that can you get first rank in MBA batch, so you can take a challenge. If you take a challenge, so you will be committed to the studies because of this challenge commitment, because you have committed yourself towards this challenge. In organization also it happens. If company gives you some challenge, newer project or newer market or newer products development, then it may be that you are accepting this challenge or you are not accepting this challenge. There is no in between lines. If you will accept it, you will be committed to do everything to achieve that task. And if not, so you may reject this challenge and you may not show your commitment. Basically, the level of involvement in particular activity shows your commitment. And there is a third type of commitment which is usually defined as the people commitment. You have commitment towards people, not towards any cause. Say for example, if you all are aware about Mahabharata. If you look at that, why Bhishma was with the Duryodhan, with the Dhritarashtra, even if Bhishma was observing that they are not making justice, they are not doing right things or justice to the Pandavas. But the cause of the causal commitment, the Bhishma's commitment towards Hastinapur was a cause of that commitment, and because of that commitment, he was with the Dhritarashtra or with the Duryodhan till his last breath. So it was basically something kind of commitment. If you talk about, some people may have people commitment. Say for example, Karna was committed to Duryodhana. People commitment. It was not for a cause. He was not fighting for honesty or fighting for justice, fighting for kingdom, fighting. There was no cause and no challenge was given. Rather, he was committed to the people, Karna. So you can understand that the commitment to the activities or the lifestyle or to the affiliation was because of the people commitment. So in people commitment, you can understand that there is a person in Mahabharata, Karna, who is very well fit in this people commitment. Bhishma fits in cause commitment. Whereas if you talk about that challenge commitment, so you can take Eklavya. Eklavya was basically committed to challenge that he was the best, in Dhanuvidya. Whereas Drona was saying that it was Arjun. So Eklavya's challenge commitment was there. So if you talk about that you are committed to your MBA program, you may have some cause for this commitment. You may have some challenge given by your family members or someone else. But it is not that you are having people commitment. Some people may be in MBA program because of people commitment, because his friend comes or her friend comes, so they are. So it is not that kind of thing. So we talk about that commitment. Now, model of commitment, if you talk about. So there is a 3-component model which is common, you will get it, which was earlier taught by Mayer and Ellens in 1991, which talks about that there is a effective commitment, there is a continuous commitment, and there is a normative commitment. There are 3 components of the 3-component model of commitment. So there are people who fit in effective commitment. There are some people who fit in continuous commitment. There are some people who fits in normative commitments. So this become very important to understand that who are into effective commitment. Effective commitment is defined as the employee's positive emotional attachment to the organization. So sometimes people are affectionate to the organization, emotional to the organization. People are attached to the organization, and because of this attachment, they are basically committed to the organization. So when employee, or even in case of employee in organization, whereas people in case of university or institution. So effective commitment is basically the commitment which emerge due to the attachment, emotional attachment. Say for example, the schools from which you graduate, that attachment is basically an emotional attachment. If you have been in a school for 10 years, 12 years, so you are emotionally attached to that organization. And your commitment is whenever you get some time to go back to that school, you go to. So it simply means your affection is behind that commitment. Continuous commitment is something which is need based commitment. Whenever you talk about that you are continuing this particular to the organization, or you are committed to continue because of your gains versus losses of the working in an organization. Say for example, you are working in X company, Y company offers you two additional increments. If you switch over to next company, then there is a no commitment towards previous company. If you are not switching over to that next company, so you always try to understand the gains versus losses. If you will switch over, how much gain? If you will not switch over, how much loss? And then you try to understand the perceivable losses. Say for example, you talk that if you go to next company, you will get two increments, but the company's head office or the working place is in another other district or other city. So those two additional increments would be of no use. So you can understand that gain versus losses. And this continuous commitment talks about the need based component. Whereas normative commitment is when individual commits to and remains with an organization because of the feelings of obligation. Obligation means when you feel that organization has done something to you and you have to return it. So as in form of obligation you remain in the company, that becomes a norm, that if company is doing something additional with you, so you should also return back to the company. So this kind of commitment is normative commitment. Whereas you may be having some confusion with the feelings and with the emotional quotient in your first one, effective commitment. But effective commitment does not have any give and take system. That is simply emotional involvement, which is an outcome of any particular activity or your engagement. Sometime you go to visit some place, you meet someone, you live for you live in that particular city for 1 week, 2 weeks. When you come back, there is an emotional bonding that comes, maybe with the city or maybe with the people you were enjoying vacations with. So those are not having any binding of give and take, no obligation. Like normative commitment, when we talk about, it is something which is say for example, you have some function in your house, your brother's marriage or your sister's marriage or your any kind of marriage function in your house. So what happens, someone comes, some relative comes, maybe maternal uncle, maybe your any other relative comes and gives some gifts. So when you get some gifts by some relatives, then it is your commitment to and remains with that in that relation and return back to this gift as a form of any marriage of that person's house or that person's family. So you talk about return, because if you will not return, it will be an obligation. So people are doing as an obligation, since that fellow came to your house or marriage function. So you have to go there. So there is a give and take system. So this is social norms, and that is why it is called normative commitment. So when we talk about this normative commitment, this is something which is very important to understand in organization, because many times organization is giving to its employees something beyond expectation. Say for example, when you were no company was giving you job, and if some company offers you job and treats you as a uh, you know good people or employee, then if the company is in low scale or low period or slow down period, then you should not leave that company in that phase, because it will not be a return obligation. So you have to take care of this, and usually you take care. So it is a kind of obligation that you are committed. So these three models, apart from these three, what are the advantages of commitment we need to talk about? When we talk about the advantages of commitment, there are so many advantages which people talks about. Say for example, good performance, or going to improve performance, improve satisfaction, improve mental tension, low number of grievances, low turnover. So many advantages people talk about. Like I am trying to come up with very fine line outcomes of commitment. If you get committed employees, committed people, obviously that indirectly you will get that improved organizational performance, improved the culture. You will get that dissatisfaction level, low level of dissatisfied people, high level of satisfied people. But what I understand, if organization gets good committed people, then those, if people or employees are committed to the organization, they will align their individual objectives, their individual goal with organizational goals and objectives. They develop we kind of feeling. If people is not committed to organization, not committed to the job, not committed to the people, what will happen? They will have their own individual goals and targets, and organization will have a different goals and different targets. Maybe same, but the approach may be different. Now in that case, the maximum loss would be of both individual as well as organization. Say for example, a teacher who is not committed to the teaching, cause of teaching learning system. So he will have his own objectives, targets. Say for example, in the morning when he comes to office, so there is a class at 10:50 or 11:40, and he has to go to bank for his bank statement of any passbook or account. So individual goal is go to bank, take bank statement, come back. Organizational goal is, or university goal is, to take class. Now, two priorities. Now, the people who will be committed to the cause of teaching learning, they will take class first. The people who are not committed to the cause of teaching learning, they will go to bank first, take their statement, and then they give organizational goals and objectives as a secondary treatment. If by the time of class they will come back, then only they can take class. That means the prioritization of the individual or organizational goals. Committed people give preference to organizational goals first, then individual goals. Non-committed people gives individual goals first priority and organizational goals as a secondary priority. So there is a break or missing of alignment of the organizational goals and objectives with the individual goals and objectives. So I believe that this is one of the very big advantage of commitment. People's commitment towards organization, or even organizational's commitment towards people. Second big advantage I talks about is that when you get committed people, so they will be full of positive energy. They will consider organization first. So they will consider organization goals first. So they will believe in work culture. They will believe in norms development. So if they will believe in work culture, so it will develop work culture in organization. Because if you get non-committed people, so everybody after coming to office and signing attendance go back to banks or post office or tea stall or some other work, not to the teaching, not to the university work. So it will disturb the work culture. Many time it happens that you go to any government office in office time, not in lunch time, office time, and you find the clerk or officer who is not on the seat, who is not in the organization, who is enjoying a cup of tea or some tea stall. So this is something which disturbs the work culture. So if you get commitment, if you get committed people, you will develop work culture. It will be easy to manage this working environment. And the third thing which I believe is that considerable behavior. When you get people who are committed to a cause, maybe to the organizational cause, maybe to the people, or maybe to the any activity. So if they are committed, their behavior would be smooth. Smooth means homogeneous, because all employees would be committed to the organizational goal. Every employee is would be having one common thing, common objective. That means organizational objective. And every employee would be giving first priority to organizational objective. So there will be one common thing, and this will help in developing the considerable behavior. Means the people who are negative thinker, they will also work for the organization if committed. So their behavior will change, and they will be behaving in a very considerable manner. They will not become problem creator. They will become problem solver in office. So this become very important to understand. Apart from this, many times you will understand in many books or many places that advantages or benefits of the commitment is that improved performance, work culture, satisfied employees, higher level of task accomplishment, developing good climate, then improving routine system functioning. So see, these are some visible and observable outcomes. these visible outcomes may have some other factor of this result, may not be directly a result of commitment. Sometimes your performance may be very good, but you may not have very committed people in your organization. Or sometimes you may not be in position to understand whether this effective commitment is there, or continuous commitment is there, or normative commitment is there. So this becomes very important to understand. Suppose sometime you are given an assignment. Someone may be giving that assignment or doing that assignment because of some cause. Someone might be doing that assignment because of people. Sometimes it happens. If Harsmith ma'am has given you assignment, you will do it. If VK Yadav has given assignment, you will take a liberty. You will take some more time to do it. So it simply means that you may be committed to people first, or sometimes you may be committed to cause, or sometimes you may be taking a challenge of that assignment. So it becomes very important to look at this commitment angle and see which type of commitment the people are having and organization is having. So this is all about on commitment.